So the way that I'll run today is I will just introduce the book to you and introduce some of the key ideas that it's going to cover and some of the story of its reception. And then there's going to be time after that for questions and answers. So I'll ask you to wait until then to ask me whatever questions you have. Thank you. Thank you all for your congratulations coming in. So the time has finally come. After years of preparation, that which is concealed or has been concealed is finally revealed. And that is the Book of Heavenly Voices, or Voces Caelesti. This is what it looks like. At least this is the proof. So there's a bit there that you can't quite see. But as you can see, it's quite a volume. And actually, I maxed out the number of pages that I was allowed to use on self-publishing. So there's a lot of information in there, but a lot of that is down to formatting. Like there's one verse per paragraph in a lot of places, and they're numbered for ease of reference. But there's a lot of content covered in this book. It is the culmination of, well, really over a decade of spiritual work. My working to attain knowledge and conversation with the Holy Guardian Angel, my various Enochian magical workings, chief among them the Jebethel ritual. And thank you all of you for your compliments. Yeah. And it covers a lot of topics. It's very deep, a very comprehensive book. And yeah, so I think to begin with, I will just talk about the time that we find ourselves in now and why it's necessary for this book to come into the world at all. What was the reason why the angels spoke to me and gave me this important task of presenting a new book of knowledge to the world? Well, as I'm sure everybody has noticed by now, civilization is in quite dire straits at the moment. We seem to be going through a decline, and a lot of the things that we took for granted in the past as things which offered us meaning, things which offered us a vision of higher principles that we can build a civilization around, have been eroded, in some cases quite deliberately. But there is a bit of a natural process of cycles that civilization goes through. And the reason, and other spiritual traditions talk about this as well. For example, I believe it's the Bhagavad Gita, talks about how from time to time righteousness fades from the world and unrighteousness increases, and it is necessary to restore Dharma to the world. And that's just that tradition's understanding of these cycles that civilization goes through. And so we are definitely in a time of unrighteousness. I think that is undeniable now. And we are at a time where the old ways of understanding the divine are on the decline. And although we have had a revival in Christian belief in more recent years, over the long term, those old ways of understanding spirituality are going to disappear. So we need something new, and a new understanding of how we can relate to the divine that is appropriate for our own times and appropriate for what we know to be true now, without becoming like postmodern or deconstructionist or anything like that. It's still about grounding something in higher values and taking inspiration from the past. But now things are developing in a new direction, in much the same way as Vedic religion became Hinduism, in much the same way as Second Temple Judaism had to become Rabbinical Judaism when the temple was destroyed, and in fact, early Christianity. So there is a process of evolution of belief that we go through, and this book continues that process. It may not be the only one in this time in human history, but is certainly an example of that. It seeks to restore our relationship with the divine in a way that is appropriate to our own times, so that we can start to eventually reverse the civilizational decline or perhaps create something new before everything else around us collapses in on itself because it's no longer fit for purpose. So that is the ambition of this book. And so it sets forth a new way of understanding not only how to relate to the divine within ourselves and in the universe, but also how we can apply our connection to the divine and use that to not only reorganize our inner life, but understand how society should function for the benefit of all people, and what higher principles we should be aligning to in order to do that. So that's a very ambitious work. And it is, of course, a revealed text. So this isn't something that I came up with by just thinking about things a lot. I went into these rituals, I contacted divine beings, angelic beings, and they gave me messages and I wrote them down. Some of them were direct revelation. Some of them were just inspiration. So when I spoke with my holy guardian angel, I had a thought and then I put that into my own words when I wrote it down. Whereas with the Jebethel ritual, the specific wording came through as well. So there's a few different ways that it came. But over the years, I've received this corpus of knowledge. And I want to also just talk a little bit about the process of revelation and that, because in these modern times, because we have lost sight of the existing understanding of how connection with the divine is important, we think that it's all superstition, it's all rubbish. Revealed knowledge is just someone's imagination, and it's not based in empirically proven evidence, which is the only way that we can know anything, through some kind of rigorous academic process of logical questioning and investigation. Whereas in fact, if you look at history, that's really downplaying the importance of revelation, because Mendeleev received the periodic table of the elements through revelation. Mozart received music through revelation. Crick received the double helix of the DNA molecule through revelation. So it's always been a feature of the human experience and the human pursuit of new knowledge. The only thing that sets apart the contents of the Voces Caelesti from those other people is that the subject matter is explicitly spiritual. And I want to be clear as well that just because I'm talking about something that is divinely revealed, I'm not saying that this book is infallible, that it's the one absolute truth for all time. The true process of divine revelation is a lot more messy than that, and it's not like a channel going one way. It's much more of like a dialogue between a human being and the divine, and so inevitably it's going to be colored in some way by the times and what is within the understanding of a person who embodies a particular point in human history. And, because the divine needs to meet us where we are. So this book does not claim to be the absolute truth for all time and all peoples, but it does claim to penetrate deeper into the mysteries of the world than ordinary human knowledge can do, and give us results that are going to help us, give us knowledge that's going to help us in the times that we're in now. And so that's a very different understanding of the role of divinely inspired writing that we have from, say, one of the monotheistic religions, a lot less rigid and fundamentalist. So I've explained a little bit about how this book came to me, conversing with angels and them giving me messages for this particular point in time. And so now I might just talk about the contents of the book, because that's the thing that's really important for people to know. And in order to do that, I'm going to read an introduction that I wrote for some of the subject matters of the book, and which also talks about how this book is needed in our time. So I'm going to read that portion of the introduction now to give you a better idea of what we're dealing with here. Matthew Brown's here. Welcome, Matthew. It's great to see you here. You've come in just in time for the good bit. This book it's got revelation in it, as well as commentary. Some of the commentary appears as footnotes to the revelation, the revealed material, but there's also an appendix of long commentaries for some of the bits of the book that require a little bit more explanation, like some of the stuff about the nature of the divine. No surprises there. So I'll go ahead and read that part of the introduction now. I've done my best to group the revelations together in an order that flows well, conveys the greater overarching themes of each division of the book, and weaves all of the different ideas together into an ordered and concise spiritual philosophy. The Voces Caelesti is divided into 8 divisions. Theology offers a description of the divine that is brought forth and governs existence. Anthropology covers the origins of humanity and our natural inclination to seek spirituality. The Idol reveals how humanity became oppressed by false religion. Aeonics describes the successive ages of humanity and the themes of the coming age. Spiritual liberation outlines the practices we may undertake to unite with the divine. Struggle counsels us on how to resist oppression in a way that aligns with divine values. Values recommends virtues. It also reveals the origins of morality in the law of love, which we participate in at the level of the human soul. The Covenant calls us to form a new, holy community that can restore the soul of society, with the ultimate end of changing the world in the image of the kingdom of heaven. Some divisions of the book are easier and more pleasing to read than others. I must caution that there are parts of the division called divinity which are highly abstract and difficult to read at times. But if the reader can persevere through those more challenging verses, they will be greatly rewarded when they read the verses that follow in the remainder of this book of the heavenly voices. Upon first reading some ideas, you may not grasp them immediately. This would not be unexpected. The Voces Caelesti is a book designed to be studied, not simply read. It is my sincere hope that in its pages you will find the answers you seek, that a conviction may be kindled in you that there is a spiritual answer to the great problems of the world, and that there is a spiritual knowledge that can restore humanity in its time of great troubles. When a critical mass among humanity has accepted that knowledge, then we may pick ourselves up and stride into the golden age of the future, when all our present tribulations have been overcome and we are a species at peace with ourselves, with knowledge of ourselves and the knowledge of God. There are many people in the world presently who are crying out for a message that can show the way to that future world. There are many such people alive today who feel there is something wrong with the way the world currently is, who feel there must be more to life. If you have opened this book under whatever circumstances, there is a high chance you are such a person. At a time when many despair that things are spiraling out of control and humanity is on the brink of extinction, I bring a defiant message of hope. By the grace of the divine and against all odds, the future will be glorious. We only need the storm clouds of the present era of turmoil to clear. If you could only see the future, you would wake up every day rejoicing. What a privilege it is to be in the generation whose deeds will usher in that world. This book is for all you who would answer that calling. May this book quench your spiritual thirst. If you're inspired by the words that are contained therein, I invite you to join me in the great challenge that lies ahead, for whosoever among the human race is noble enough in spirit to take it up. That great task is none other than the task of restoring the world. And so here it is now. And around Easter, I began the process of preparation to reveal this book to the world, and now it is revealed.